It's First Pitch, my favorite show every day right now, and my favorite of all the First Pitch shows, Bryan, Leonard, and Dave Cokin. It's Friday. I'm the Prez. Dave, you were just bragging. Go ahead.
No, I don't. Not bragging. But if you watched First Pitch yesterday, I went on a fairly lengthy diatribe about Lucas Giolito of the White Sox and what he's done to his pitching arsenal and actually his motion too. And why he is suddenly blowing up. And, plus 175 or thereabouts on the White Sox. It was a great play last night. One quick note on Giolito, by the way. The motion he's using now is much more torque than he used to have. Keep an eye out because that could lead, it's more max effort and it could lead to injury issues down the road. So see what happens if he starts losing velocity or something like that. A fade sign, but I'm glad it worked out last night.
He's Dave Cokin. I'm the Prez. Bryan Leonard, our guest today. Bryan, how was your week? Last time we spoke, you were in a little bit of a slump. Have you fixed that?
Yeah, actually, good week for us. Had a couple bad breaks, so we really had an awesome week. But yeah, seeing things good, and like Dave talked about, I didn't give out any plays yesterday. I passed on the small card. But I bet the White Sox in first five and the full game. And I agree. Giolito is one of these guys that was highly touted, one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. And now he's starting to figure it out. So there's some value on him because he's been brought up. It's going to take a while for the lines makers and the bettors to figure it out.
They won't. It'll be figured out now. His next start looks like it's going to be against the Royals. So no more bargains on him.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll get lucky and he'll have a crappy start against the Royals and bounce back when he's playing a really good team. Guys, let's get into it. Lots of shows, lots of games on tap. We're going to race through them all. The Dodgers against Pittsburgh. Dodgers are 32-18. Pittsburgh 25-22. This game is off the board.
Still starting pitcher for Pittsburgh.
So let's just skip the game.
Yeah, it'll probably be Steven Brault will be in the game at some point for the Pirates, but they're not saying whether he's starting or they're using an opener. Next.
Okay, Miami at Washington. Miami 16-31. Washington 19-31. Washington in this game is minus 140 to 147. The over and under is 9. Bryan Leonard, I go to you first. What do you like?
Yeah, you mentioned the records. Who would have thought that at this point of the season, the Miami Marlins, 1.5 games behind the Washington Nationals, who I thought were going to the World Series. Yeah, at this point, Miami's taking a lot of money in this game, and I can't disagree. This Washington bullpen is horrendous. They blew it again yesterday. They continue to be one of the worst bullpens in baseball. It's Miami or nothing for me. I like Lopez. Dave and I ran a fantasy league, and he took him right before I had the chance, and that was a great pickup for Dave. And this is a guy, 3 of his last 7 starts, he's thrown shutouts, and nobody's talking about him. A lot of value on Miami. This is going to be a Sharps versus the Joes game if anybody's betting it, because the public's going to think this is just a value play on Washington. But I like the Miami side. I've already bet it, and a lot of people have done the same.
Dave Cokin, Miami 6 in a row. You're with Bryan on this one?
I wouldn't be against him. I considered the Marlins here. The only thing that took me off it, I don't like going against guys in their first big league start. McGowan's had a couple of big league appearances for the Nationals, but this will be his first start, so he's going to be excited. But live betting might be a possibility here because, if this is if say the Nationals get out to an early lead, with that bullpen and the fact that McGowan's probably not going all that long, you get a chance to get Miami at a decent plus in the game. Might not be a bad idea. Miami's bullpen.
I'm sorry. That was also one of the reasons why I liked him. Because he's going to be on a pitch count, not going to go long.
San Diego, Toronto. Toronto 10 games under 500. San Diego 2 games up on 500. Both teams playing to the under. The total is 8.5. We have the home Toronto Blue Jays at basically a pick'em. San Diego minus 125. You know, Thornton versus Lucchese. You know, I'll tell you. I mean, really quick from my perspective, I think we see. I like Toronto in the spot, guys. I think we're going to see Toronto bounce back from 2 losses against Boston. And they are extremely small dog here. I like the Jays. Dave?
I like the intangibles aspect a little bit here because Kevin Biggio will make his debut tonight. So there's a little buzz there. And this will be the first time in the history of baseball that 2 sons of Hall of Famers are playing for the same team. Guerrero already there for the Blue Jays. And, you know, on a 162-game schedule, you kind of look for those little energy spots that stand out. And I kind of think this one does a little bit. Should be a nice crowd in Toronto tonight. The baseball media world will be there because of the Guerrero and Biggio thing. The tough part is they haven't seen Joey Lucchese, who's got that peculiar motion, hesitation delivery. Very tough if you haven't seen it before, and he's in good form. But that's offset somewhat because Thornton has pitched well in 4 of his last 5 starts for the Blue Jays. So maybe a little bit of a variables edge on the Toronto side tonight as a home dog.
Bryan?
I'm looking for the under here, probably first 5 and full game. You mentioned Thornton. 4 of his last 5 games, game score is 65, 57, 78, 61. The guy's pitching really well. And you look at Lucchese, and you mentioned the teams that don't see him. Like the first time he came up with San Diego, that first time through the league, he was awesome. I just love watching him play. We can make a lot of money on it. I love left-handers, their first time through the major leagues. And he had a lot of success there. So Toronto's been a team that hasn't scored a lot of runs. San Diego is a team with talent, but they haven't scored a lot of runs lately. I like this under in the first half and the full game.
Tampa Bay on the road playing Cleveland. Tampa Bay 29-18. Cleveland 25-14. The home team, the Indians, are plus 115 to 120. The over and under is 7.5. Tampa Bay just beat Cleveland 7-2. Cleveland's lost 4 in a row. It's Bieber versus Snell tonight. Bryan, where are you going here?
You've got to have a major reason to play the Indians at this point. This is ridiculous how bad this offense is. They dropped their number 4 hitter. They cut him. They've got some young talent in the minors. I don't know if it's ready yet, but this is a game that I'm interested in. And Bieber's a guy who traditionally has pitched much better on the road than he has at home. But his last time out, he throws a complete game for the first time ever, shutout, and he has 15 strikeouts. So he's going to come into this in an area that we've never seen before because he's not used to pitching that long and, you know, dominant performance. And you've got the pitcher for the for the Rays. He's been very good on the road all season long. I don't think there's going to be many runs scored in this game. I prefer the road team because if you take a look at the advanced stats, Bieber is due for some regression negatively, and the starter for the Rays is due for some positive regression. I like Tampa. I like the under, and that's the ways I'm looking at in this game.
Dave?
Yeah, Bieber is a guy who he's supposed to have a limited arsenal. You know, everything keys up his slider. Maybe the analysts are getting it wrong on him. He just might turn out to be just simply better than people have been saying. He was fantastic at his last start. Blake Snell is almost always fantastic, and Tampa's got the better offense. So I think they priced it right, or minus 130-ish looks like about the right price for the Rays. I think Tampa wins this.
Boys, Detroit Tigers on the road playing the New York Mets. The New York Mets are 1 game below 500 right now. Time for them to switch into winning gear. They're playing Detroit. What perfect timing for them. The Mets have won 4 in a row. Their bats are very much alive. A 4-game sweep against Washington. Detroit's lost 9 in a row. The New York Mets.
9.5.
What?
They've lost 9. They've actually lost 9.5 in a row because in addition to the 9 they've lost in a row, you've got that suspended game with Oakland where they were losing in the 7th inning. So it's 9.5.
9.5 it is. Dave, I go to you first. Minus 300 for the Mets, over and under 7.5. Where are you going in this game?
Well, you can't play the Tigers because, to me, if you play a team that's lost 9.5 in a row, you're in trouble to begin with. But, I mean, the Mets' entire outfield is on the disabled list now. They just happen to be playing the Nationals at the right time, and they came out a little energized after all the nonsense with the Callaway press conference early in the week. I guess the Mets, obviously the Mets should win the game, but I'm not interested at the price. No chance I'm playing it.
Bryan, Syndergaard versus Soto. Where are you going in this one?
Teams on a 9.5 game losing streak have never lost in Major League Baseball. You made you can't lay 300 with Syndergaard here, but I do like the Mets offense. They've scored 6-6, 6-5 the last 4 games, as you pointed out, Prez. And Gregory Soto, he's not going to be in for very long, but he's had 3 starts. He's got a 34 game score in those games. So I think the Mets could get to him. I played the Mets team total over, but other than that, that's all I've got in this one.
Dave, the White Sox, we spoke about them earlier. 3 games below 500 and a team that, is actually doing better than expected. They're playing Minnesota tonight. Minnesota, we spoke about them in our preview show. Everybody loved the Twins for this year. They're up 17.5 units if you bet them on the money line. Only 4.5 if you bet them on the run line. All their games are close. They're minus 200 to 220 tonight. The over and under is 9. I'm not going to lay that type of money, but I think they're getting Chicago in the right spot. Chicago just won 2 against Houston, which is really tough to do. They're going into Minnesota fat and comfortable. Minnie's won 3 in a row, 7 of 8. Bryan, I go to you first. I like Minnesota in this game. I just don't want to lay that type of wood.
Yeah, that's the problem you run into here. The Twins last 2 years against the White Sox, 24-14. So they've dominated this series, even when they weren't as good as they've been this year. You've got to pick, I talked earlier about picking a good reason to bet on Cleveland. You've got to have a good reason to bet against Minnesota right now. This team is just ridiculous. I saw that Caesar still had Minnesota at minus 260 to win this division. There's no such thing as a lock, but Cleveland's not going to win this division. So the Twins have got this locked up already, barring major injuries.
That sounds like a better bet than taking the Twins tonight.
It is. If you get down to Caesars, you get that bet in. Hopefully nobody does it before I get down there. But, Barrios, the last 2 times he's pitched, he struggled. Game scores 38-25, so he's not coming in the best way. But, it'd be Minnesota or nothing for me. You got to find a way to bet it without laying the 2-1 favorite.
Dave, Cokin, any quick thoughts on this game?
I actually took plus 300 on the Twins to win the division a while ago, so
awesome.
I don't need to make that bet. I think the White Sox could end up being the second-place team in this division. They've got some young talent. Reynaldo Lopez has been good lately. I mean, using the game scores that Bryan talks about, he said 5 of his last 7 starts have been above average. But very quickly, because I don't want to take up too much time, I wouldn't go against Barrios here. He's got to be really pissed about getting lifted in the 5th inning of a game in which they were ahead like 12 runs because he ran into trouble. And I think he got lifted as kind of a punishment, so he didn't get the W. He's going to be motivated in this game, and the Twins are just kicking the snot out of it right now. So no chance I'm playing it.
You're watching First Pitch with Bryan, Leonard, and Dave Cokin. I'm the Prez. All of us are found at WagerTalk.com. Check out Morning Joe with Marco D'Angelo. We talk NBA and puck time with all 4 of the regulars. Alex, Andrew, and Carm. We did an NHL preview, Stanley Cup preview show. Real quick, guys, both Tony and Marco are on 8-0 baseball runs. Tony's also on a 17-2 baseball run. Ralph has got a 5% play tonight in baseball, so head over to WagerTalk and check everyone out. Bryan's rolling, Dave's rolling. I'm on an 11-4 all sports run. I'm killing it in baseball myself. Yeah, lots of good things happening at WagerTalk.com. Bryan, Philadelphia 29-21, Milwaukee 29-22. Both teams are playing to the under. Philadelphia 8 games to the under, Milwaukee 10 games to the under. Milwaukee's minus 133. The total here is 9. Philadelphia's hitting the ball right now. They just beat the Cubs 9-7. Milwaukee at 11-9 against Cincinnati. Anderson versus Eichhoff. Both pitchers are doing well. I have no thoughts on the total, but I do like Milwaukee at this short price. Bryan?
Eichhoff started out on fire this year, and he struggled a little bit as of late. Series history in the last 3 years, he seems pretty even, although Milwaukee's got a 3-1 lead this year. To be honest with you, I don't have much on this. I'm not going to take up any of your time.
Neither do I. Next.
Boston against Houston. This is a playoff matchup in the making. Boston now turned their season around after a rough start, 4 games over 500. And Houston with 2 losses in a row, but 33-18 and coming home. Houston finds themselves as a plus 120 dog. The over is 8.5. Boston is rolling. They've won their last 2, 4 of their last 5, including one of them against Houston. And it's Sale versus Miley. Look, this game is interesting to me because, obviously Sale is really good. He's pitching outstanding of late after a tough start. Last 3 games, 0.74 whip, 2.66 ERA. He's striking out a lot of guys. But the bottom line here is I think Houston is a better team. And I think we've got him off of a back-to-back loss situation, and I'm getting them with money. Dave, I go to you first. I like Houston here as the dog.
No, I don't. I'm not going to lay the price either, but if I had to play it, I'd be on the Red Sox. Sale could dominate this lineup, actually, especially if George Springer's still out. For Houston, we don't know that yet. He did take batting practice yesterday, but that doesn't mean he's going to play tonight. And I don't think the Astros are going to risk him in one game early. Altuve is still on the DL, so that's the top of the order that could be missing for Houston. Boston, we don't know about J.D. Martinez, who's missed the last couple of games. I think you'll see him in the lineup tonight, but no guarantee. Miley, I think, is kind of leveling off a little bit. Hasn't been real good in his last 2 starts after what was a really remarkable run for a kind of a journeyman left-hander. I would look at the Sale side here, but I'm going to get priced out on it because I really don't want to lay 135 or that neighborhood at Houston. But at Pick'em, I'd certainly be on the Red Sox.
Bryan?
So Dave's saying that he likes Sale but does not own Sale, so he's not going to make that bet. But, yeah, I can understand that because Chris Sale, take a look at the last 7 starts. 75 strikeouts, 12 walks. 65 game score. He's pitching his normal Chris Sale, but it's interesting because it could be another Pros versus Joe's game because you've got Miley with the 3.51 ERA, Sale 4.31. People are going to look at Houston Astros at home as an underdog, and your pitcher's got a better ERA. I think this is going to be popular with the guys that don't really bet for a living. They'll be looking at Houston, so maybe we'll find some value on Boston. If it goes down a little bit, I'm with Dave. I think that's the right side.
Atlanta versus St. Louis. Atlanta 28-23. St. Louis only 1 game above 500. St. Louis is around minus 160. The over and under in this game is 10. Atlanta 2 wins in a row and 7 of their last 9. St. Louis, kind of the opposite. They've won 2 of their last 7 games. We got Mikolas versus Mike on the mound today. Bryan, what do you like?
Fulton Evans.
Okay. I just call him Mike.
Yeah, well, I can understand.
I think his teammates call him Fulty.
Fulty, yeah. Mike F. Interesting to note, Fulton Evans is off his best start of the season, coming back off the injury. Mikolas got killed last time out. 1 1/3 innings, 7 earned runs, a game score of 10 at Texas. So both pitchers should be pitching much better than they have in the past. We'll have to see. I don't see a lot of value in this game. I have nothing. Maybe Dave has something in this game.
I would have played the Braves in this game because I like the fact Fulton Everett is a good pitcher, but he's really struggled so far coming back from injury. But he kind of a buy sign in his last start with an asterisk because he still can't keep the ball in the park. He's giving up a ridiculous number of home runs so far. Michaelis is a guy who I think was a one-year fluke. He's a number 4 or 5 starter, pitches to contact, and he can get raked. So I think he's kind of settled back toward his level. So the Braves, to me, have value at the price. The problem is the scheduling. Cardinals had yesterday off. Braves coming off a long game in San Francisco and having to travel. I don't like that. So that's enough to keep me out. Them all.
Boys, the New York Yankees, they're on the road playing Kansas City. And look, Kansas City right in the thick of things. Only 16 games back in the division.
Okay.
I feel like a run is coming. I think if they win their next 16 games in a row, they'll only be about 9 games back in their division. The Yanks are a mean and mighty team right now. Have been all year. Doesn't matter who pitches for them. Doesn't matter who hits. Doesn't matter who's injured. This team is 32-17 on the year. They're minus 150 tonight. The over and under is 10. They've won 5 in a row, 9 of 10. This team just can't stop winning. It's Green versus Junis. Green only 12 innings pitched with a 12 ERA. Not very impressive, but with the Yankees, it doesn't even matter. They'll go out and win 11-9. Dave, what do you like?
Well, you just said it all. I mean, look at what's happened this week. Yankees could have lost all these games.
Yeah, 6-5, 7-5, 10-7.
Yeah, I mean, they're down a bunch of runs in one game to come back. Yesterday they blew a lead. Doesn't matter. They win it. I mean, there's no way I'm laying a price with Chad Green, who's been really bad. I mean, really bad so far. In fact, he's been so bad, they might trade him to the Royals before this start. Jacob Junis just is not in good enough form to warrant an upset call here. I mean, if you want to take a shot against the Yankees, that's fine, especially when they've got somebody like Green in the mound. And it's not a great scheduling spot for them. But you can't do it with a pitcher who's struggling as much as Junis. So it's a quick cross-off for me, Brian.
Yeah, the Yankees have won 9 of 10. The only game they lost was in extra innings. Team just finding ways to win right now. I do have a question about Chad Green. This was a guy who was just awesome in the past.
Yeah.
1.83 ERA, 2.5 ERA. Have you noticed, because you watch more games than I do, have you noticed what's wrong with him?
I think he's just not 100% yet because, he was hurt. And, it's that old thing about bullpen guys. Sometimes they're just bullpen guys, and that's where they belong, and they're comfortable in that role. I'm not sure he's suited to doing the 20-minute warm-ups and calisthenics and getting ready for a starting performance. I think he'll be back in the bullpen as soon as the Yankees can find another starter, and that's where he belongs.
I've just assumed he's one of these spot starters that the pitches 1 or 2 innings is what they're using him for. It's obviously not working, but he didn't look good when he was in the bullpen earlier this year. So, yeah, I've got some worries there because he's a fixture in that Yankees bullpen. He just hasn't been the same this year.
He's Bryan. I'm the Prez. Dave Cokin, my co-host, every day on First Pitch, Monday to Friday. Bryan, I'll go to you first. Baltimore, a disaster playing Colorado. 4 games under 500 themselves. Colorado is anywhere from 157 to minus 180. The over and under is a massive 12. Well, Baltimore is hitting the ball, against the Yankees, 5-5, 4-7, and they certainly can't pitch. That's for sure, and that's probably why this total is so high. Hoffman versus Means. Means is not doing bad, man. 43 innings pitched on the season, under 3 ERA, 5-4 for an Orioles team. What do you think, brother?
Means is their best pitcher right now, and I don't think it's even close. But even though the number's 12 on this total, I'd play the over 12. I mean, we don't know what we're going to get out of Hoffman. means pitching in this environment, totally different than pitching anywhere else. I lean to the over. Haven't bet anything on this game as of yet.
Dave?
Yeah, Hoffman's the guy they had really high hopes for him. He was a big-time prospect, and it just hasn't worked out. He did pitch pretty well in his first start. And he's trying to chisel out a spot in their rotation, and there's one available because there's a couple of spots in the Colorado rotation that are not firm right now. So this is a big game for him. Means has been the best pitcher, excuse me, for the Orioles. But first time pitching at Coors, that's an angle that goes way back. That's like a 25-year angle. You don't want pitchers pitching for the first time at Coors, especially if they're not flamethrowers, because they can be more impacted by the altitude. So I can't disagree that this has the makings of a game that could be a shootout.
Seattle versus Oakland. I mean, Seattle, what a tale of 2 months. This team was just killing it at the beginning of the season, and now they find themselves 10.5 games out at the bottom of the AL West, and really one of the worst teams in baseball. Oakland, dead even, 25-25. Seattle, one thing about them consistently is they're playing to the over almost every game. 34 to the over, 16 to the under. It's 9.5. We got Oakland at home tonight at -161. Seattle swept in Texas, won 1 out of 4 in Minnesota. Oakland rolling, 6 in a row for them. LeBlanc versus Mengden. Dave, what do you think?
Well, Oakland's actually 6.5 in a row because they're the
Oh
other
God!
side.
Okay, blah blah blah.
Well, the odds, the prices have caught up on how bad Seattle is and the fact that Oakland's rolling. So, I mean, baseball's still a value sport. You can't just play streaks and cash in. I mean, they probably shouldn't be 155 here, but I can't make a case for Seattle. And as for the overs, there's a real easy explanation for that. Their bullpen stinks, and they can't catch the ball. Seattle is literally one of the worst defensive teams I've ever seen. That's going to make for a lot of overs. And I would probably look at that as the possible play in this game. Agreed.
Dave, Bryan?
Yeah, I can see the same thing. Yeah, Seattle's the worst team in baseball in defense. Wade LeBlanc said 2 starts so far this year, 44 and 15 game scores. Mencken actually looked really good against Detroit, his last start of the 70. But yeah, it would be something in this game. I don't have anything on the side, but the total would be probably where I'd look. And, you take a look at the way Oakland's hitting right now. Seattle's got the ability. You talk about home runs. I mean, they when they were on their winning streak, it was all home runs. So this could be one of those games where you can look for a high scoring affair.
I mean, we're somewhat deep into the season. I'm not deep into the season, but we're certainly past the starting point. And already you look at the divisions, and it's like, nobody's going to touch Minnesota. Cleveland's 8 games back. But that AL West, boys, I mean, Houston's running away with this thing. Texas, 24-23, 7 back. The Angels, 22-27, already 10 back. They face each other tonight. The Angels are the home team at -160. The over and under is 9. Texas is rolling right now, Bryan. They've won 4 in a row in 7 of their last 8 games. And the Angels on the other side, they've lost 4 in a row and 6 of their last 8 games. Smiley versus Canning. I gotta play Texas in the spot. I hate playing so much chalk, but I think this might be a bit of a lopsided game.
Well, out of the last 4 wins for Texas, 3 of them were by a single run, the other one by 2 runs, and one of those was in extra innings. So even though they're winning, it could have gone either way. But you're looking at the Angels, they lose by 9, they lose by 5, 2, 4. So they're getting beat pretty bad. I like Griffin Canning. This is a guy in 3 of his 4 starts since coming up. He's only allowed 1 walk. He's a guy that has a nice strikeout to walk ratio. So I like him. But it's tough to lay this number, as you pointed out, in this situation. So I'm probably going to pass in this contest.
Dave?
Yeah, I am as well. I'm going to pass as well. Bryan, we both like Griffin Canning a lot and think he's going to emerge as the ace of the Angels staff. He's a really good young pitcher who hasn't gotten the hype of some of the other guys, but he's legit. And Drew Smyly's terrible. I know the Angels have been awful against lefties, really bad, but Drew Smyly is really bad. He's a completely below average guy. I think the Angels will win here, but not at 150 or so. There's no way they're on my card.
One game left, boys. Arizona versus San Fran. Arizona dead even on the season at 25-25. San Francisco down 7 games, 21-28. Both teams also pretty much dead even on the total. We have the home San Francisco Giants at 105-110. The over in this game is 7, and rightfully so. I mean, Arizona just got swept by San Diego, put up 5 runs in 3 games, and then lost to San Fran. They're the 2 last games of that series. 5 in a row losers for Arizona. And San Fran, I mean, look, they're a bad team, but at least they're 3-3 in their last 6. Bryan, I go to you first. Robbie Ray, really good pitcher against Drew Pomeranz. What do we like in this game?
Yeah, I think you hit on the way that I would probably play, and that would be the under here. Both teams struggling offensively. Arizona really looked good early. A lot of their young guys were really coming through. Now their best overall player is somewhat in and out of the lineup in Peralta every day. So you don't know what you're going to get there. Very interesting to note that the Giants have won 21 games on the season. They're 13-5 one-run games. That means they've only won 8 games all season long by more than 1 run. So you know you're going to get a tight effort. Both of their 8th and 9th inning guys had to pitch last night, and they lost that game. They didn't throw enough pitches to keep them out for tonight, but which was always a concern when you're taking a look at the under. But I got a slight lean with the under. Somebody I respect gave me a play on the under. I may end up playing it myself.
Look, the Diamondbacks offense was fraudulent. It was just a fraud early. It's not that good of an offense. And they scored a lot of runs, and now, reality is set in. The thing that confuses me in this game a bit is that it's Robbie Ray versus Drew Pomeranz. So there's a clear edge here for the Diamondbacks in the pitching. And yet, this is one of those games where the public is going to bet the Diamondbacks on the pitching. And yet the lines come down a dime. And I find that a little bit curious, at least. It looks like there might be some sharper money on the Giants. Really doesn't matter in the long run to me because I'm not playing the baseball game, so let them do what they do. But I kind of hope the Diamondbacks win. That might get me a better price in one of the remaining 2 games on the Giants in this series. Arizona's a team that I think is they're on the elevator down right now.
Dave Cokin, Bryan Leonard, the Prez first pitch is in the bag. The timing is spectacular, guys. My woman just walked in with my shawarma. I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for the show. And we'll see both of you next Friday. And Dave, we'll see you Monday. Are you going to be around Monday, Memorial Day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There are no holidays for sports bettors except Christmas Eve.
He's like the rest of us. Nobody has a life other than this.
Ain't that the truth? Later, boys. Great show.
And then the All-Star break comes, and we get a few days off, so we bet horses.
Go. Party time.
Later, boys.
Take care.